Tonight, when you sit down to eat, you'll probably open a fridge, unwrap something, maybe heat it up. It takes 2 minutes. Your ancestors spent 8 hours hunting for the same calories. Here's the thing nobody tells you. Those ancestors, the ones running barefoot across, savannas 200,000 years ago had virtually clean arteries. No plaque, no blockages, no heart disease. And we have the science to prove it. A landmark study published in the Lancet, one of the most respected medical journals on Earth, found a group of modern hunter-gatherers whose arteries are so clean, so healthy, that their 80-year-olds have the same vascular age as the average American in their 50s. So what were they eating? And what did we stop eating that's slowly destroying our hearts? Stay with me, because the answer is going to change how you look at every meal you eat. Let's start with the most important study you've probably never heard of. Deep in the Bolivian Amazon lives a people called the Tsimane. They hunt. They fish. They farm small plots by hand. They don't have refrigerators. They don't have fast food. They spend 6 to 7 hours physically moving every single day. In 2017, a team of researchers published their findings in the Lancet after studying 705 Tsimane adults. They used CT scanners, the same machines we use in hospitals, to image the coronary arteries of every participant. What they found was extraordinary. Coronary atherosclerosis, the hardening and clogging of heart arteries that kills more humans than any other disease, was 5 times less common in the Tsimane than in Americans. 5 times. The lead author, Professor Hillard Kaplan of the University of New Mexico, put it plainly, the Tsimane have the lowest reported levels of coronary artery disease of any population ever recorded. But here's what makes this scientifically important. This isn't just one tribe. Field studies of hunter-gatherer populations across the globe from Papua New Guinea to the Kalahari have found the same pattern. They are, quote, generally free of the signs and symptoms of cardiovascular disease. So, what are they eating? Forget everything you think you know about the caveman diet. The science is more nuanced and more interesting than any trendy meal plan. Archaeological isotopic analysis that scientists studying the chemical signatures locked inside ancient human bones and teeth tells us that our ancestors ate a wide variety of whole, unprocessed foods. The specific mix varied by region and season, but the pattern is remarkably consistent. Here's what the evidence shows they ate. First, wild plants in enormous quantity. Roots, tubers, leafy greens, seasonal berries, wild fruits, nuts, and seeds. Researchers examining Neanderthal dental calculus, that's basically ancient plaque preserved in fossilized teeth, found evidence of date palms, legumes, and starchy seeds. In the Andes, stable isotope analysis of 9,000-year-old human bones showed plants made up 70 to 95% of the diet. Second, wild game and freshwater fish. Not the grain-fed, factory-farmed meat we eat today. Wild animals that spent their lives moving. Wild fish from clean rivers. The Tsimane eat capybara, wild boar, and river fish hunted fresh, eaten the same day. Third, unprocessed carbohydrates. This one surprises people. Archaeologists have found grain grinding tools at sites 30,000 years old long before farming. Our ancestors ate carbs. They just weren't refined. No white flour, no added sugar, just whole food, exactly as nature made it. And fourth, eggs, nuts, and seasonal honey. Nutrient-dense, rich in vitamin C and E, carotenoids, and healthy fats. What's missing from this list is just as important as what's on it. No processed sugar, no refined oils, no ultra-processed food, no added salt, no artificial anything. The NIH describes the ancestral diet as containing high contents of protein and some micronutrients such as vitamins C and E, carotenes, and fiber with lower caloric intake from carbohydrate and refined fat. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Because it's not enough to know what they ate. We need to understand why it protected their arteries. And the science is precise. The number one reason, the omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. Your body needs both of these fatty acids, but the balance between them determines whether your arteries are inflamed or calm. Atherosclerosis, the plaque buildup that causes heart attacks, is fundamentally an inflammatory disease. When your arteries are chronically inflamed, plaque forms. And plaque kills. In an ancestral diet, the ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 was approximately 1 to 1. In the modern Western diet, that ratio is 15 to 1. Some studies put it as high as 20% to 1%. This isn't a small difference. This is a 15-fold shift in the inflammatory chemistry of your blood, and it happened in less than 100 years. Research published in Science Direct confirms that omega-3 fatty acids were present in virtually everything ancient humans ate: wild meat, wild plants, eggs, and fish. Today, most of us eat almost none of them. The second reason, fiber. Real fiber, not the kind sprinkled into processed cereal. Ancient diets contained up to 10 times more dietary fiber than modern diets, derived from hundreds of species of wild plants. Fiber lowers LDL cholesterol. It stabilizes blood sugar. It feeds the gut bacteria that produce anti-inflammatory compounds. It is arguably the most underrated nutrient in human history. The third reason, no blood sugar spikes. Zero refined carbohydrates meant no insulin resistance, no glycation of arterial walls, a process where excess sugar literally sticks to and damages the lining of your blood vessels. Clinical research shows the Paleolithic dietary pattern has a glycemic index around 50, compared to 55 plus in modern therapeutic diets. That gap matters enormously over decades. And the fourth, movement. The Tsamane spend only 10% of their waking hours sitting. Industrial populations spend more than 54% sitting. Research published in the American Journal of Human Biology confirms that the hunter-gatherer foraging lifestyle involves sustained moderate to vigorous physical activity that directly reduces cardiovascular disease risk markers. So what happened? For 200,000 years, our genome was shaped by wild, unprocessed food. Then, roughly 10,000 years ago, agriculture began. Grains became staples. Animals were domesticated. The diet shifted gradually but meaningfully. Then, 2 centuries ago, industrialization arrived. And in the span of just 5 to 7 generations less than the blink of an eye in evolutionary time, our food supply was transformed beyond recognition. Ultra-processed foods flooded the market. Refined sugar became cheap and ubiquitous. Seed oils with extreme omega-6 ratios replaced animal fats. Salt was added to everything. Wild foods were replaced by 4 crops: corn, wheat, soy, and rice, in their most refined, stripped-down forms. The Mayo Clinic proceedings published a landmark paper stating it plainly. The mismatch between our modern diet and lifestyle and our Paleolithic genome is playing a substantial role in the ongoing epidemics of obesity, hypertension, diabetes, and atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease. Our DNA hasn't changed. Our food has. And our arteries are paying the price. Now, I'm not telling you to quit your job and move to the Bolivian Amazon. The researchers themselves said their findings don't mean everyone needs to adopt a hunter-gatherer lifestyle. What they do suggest is that certain core principles of ancestral eating can and should be applied to modern life. Principle 1. Eat food that existed before factories. Whole fruits, vegetables, tubers, legumes, nuts, seeds, eggs, lean meat, and fish. If your great-great-grandmother wouldn't recognize it as food, think twice. Principle 2. Fix your fat ratio. Reduce refined seed oils. Add omega-3 rich foods, fatty fish, walnuts, flax seeds, grass-fed meat. This alone can meaningfully shift your inflammatory profile. Principle 3. Eat more fiber than you think you need. Aim for 30 to 40 grams daily. Eat 30 different plant foods per week if you can. Your gut microbiome and your arteries will respond. Principle 4. Cut ultra-processed food. Not perfectly, but seriously. The Tsamane get 2% of their calories from store-bought processed food. The average American gets close to 60%. Close that gap, even partially, and your biology will notice. Principle 5. Move. Not as exercise you schedule and dread, but as a natural part of your day. Walk. Take the stairs. Stand while you work. Every hour of movement is your artery's best medicine. Your ancestors ate food that grew in the ground, swam in rivers, and walked across open land. They didn't have cardiologists. They didn't need them. 200,000 years of evolution built a body that thrives on real food and daily movement. That design hasn't changed. Only the food has. If this changed how you think about what's on your plate, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And I'll see you in the next one.